All right, friends, it's T-Man. We back. Guess with who? We are back with JeffNippard, man, the fitness influencer, the, how should I put it, the lifting, recruiting slave lifter. Yeah, the fitness, recruiting, lifting slave recruiter. The gym slave, yes, himself, JeffNippard. All right, we're going to review this video today. It's worth the hype. Well, he's got Sam Sulek on there, right? Him and Sam Sulek. Both taking steroids. They're both on steroids. This little phony man. Anyway, I watched every Sam Sulek video, a scientific analysis. I watched him too, and I've been watching him, and so what? I've even done videos on him. Let's review this.
The world at the moment. So I decided to analyze every single workout he's done. Sam Sulek is, by far, the biggest fitness influencer in the world at the moment. So I decided to analyze.
Okay, so he's a guy that took steroids, and he started doing these little videos, driving in his car, talking and lifting. He doesn't tell you how you should exercise. He doesn't tell you anything. He doesn't talk about steroids. He just goes and he lifts in a gym. That's it. And he takes steroids. He's very popular, yes.
Every single workout he's done this year. So far, he's done 460 sets. 15% of those sets were for his chest, 20% for his back, and 16% for his biceps. Interestingly, only 11% of Sam.
I guess there's just nothing out there to watch anymore, maybe. People are just bored. The fitness industry is dead. So everybody's watching this so-called Sam Sulek guy yakking in his car and whatever, going to do his little workouts at the gym. His workouts aren't that dramatic, man, but okay, whatever.
Sam's total training was for his quads, yet 25% went to his triceps. 1/4 of Sam's total training is triceps training, yet anatomy research.
Yes, I've noticed that.
Research tells us that the triceps are less than 4% of total body muscle, while the quads are, by far, the biggest muscle in the body.
Well, maybe because maybe that's the one that's the hardest to grow for him, so that's why he's doing so much of it. He's trying to hit the areas that are the weakest.
Almost 30% of total body muscle. Also, Sam trains to failure 96% of the time, but almost all of his sets not taken to failure were for his forearms. So if we ignore the forearm work, fully 98% of Sam's training was done all the way to muscular failure. I also examined the range of motion he used on every set, the most common rep range he used, and using all this information, in this video, I'm going to provide the most analytical, science-based critique of Sam Sulek's training on the internet.
Here's the thing, a guy on steroids, okay, hold on a second.
That you should definitely apply to.
Okay, here's the thing. Would it really matter when it comes to Sam Sulek? Okay, is this thing recording? Yeah. Does it really matter when it comes to Sam Sulek, how he's training? He takes steroids. So it's a known fact, you're going to draw a lot of glycogen into the muscle. That's what it's going to do. It's going to draw a lot of it. That's what testosterone does. So him lifting in the weight all the time, telling you, I'm getting a pump. Let me do pump checks. I'm getting a pump, a massive pump, and all that. You don't get massive pumps eating protein. Protein builds muscles, right? Okay, so why aren't you eating protein and building muscle? How the hell is a protein going to give you a pump? What's giving you the pump? Carbohydrates. What's carbohydrate? It's an artificial diet. It would be an artificial diet for a human to eat carbohydrates. So when you eat it, it's artificial. See what I mean? And now you're taking artificial steroids. So you're creating artificial muscles through eating artificial food and taking an artificial hormone and drawing in that glucose into the muscle a lot quicker and faster than you would normally do it. Not necessarily, I mean, as a natural, you could do the same thing, but it draws it a lot faster with the hormone. So for every gram of glycogen, 3 grams of water are drawn between the skin of the muscle into the muscle. What kind of muscle is he building? He's exercising every day. There's a thing called repeated bout effect. You can't, it's hard to bypass it. There's a repair and a remodeling. The muscles, they're resilient from getting damaged again. And the progenitor donating its nuclei to support further muscle growth. Why? Because it has an MND size limit, muscles. So during hypertrophic process, it reaches a ceiling limit beyond where the progenitor, the satellite cell, can donate its nuclei to support further muscle growth. What are nuclei? They synthesize protein. That's what they do. You understand me? They synthesize protein for that growth. And so There's no more growth there during hypertrophic process, but you can do a repair and a remodeling, but that becomes even more that becomes difficult. It becomes difficult to constantly repair and remodel, damage muscles, repair and remodel. To get more density, you can get more density, but density and mass are two different things. You see more on the mass part than the density. That's why when you have when you're massed up with glycogen, you just look massive. So that just adds more to the mass. You know, the density, the glycogen, the phony muscles. Again, phony diet, phony muscles. Can a natty be a phony? Can a natty be a fake natty? Of course. If a fake natty eats bowls and bowls of potatoes, goes to the gym and lifts, and that's all he eats, and he goes into the gym, eats shitloads of potatoes every single day, 3, 4, 5 bowls a day, whatever. Goes to the gym and lifts, and he starts drawing this glycogen into the muscle, and he gets massive off glycogen. Is he a fake natty? Did he grow fake muscles? Are they real? Are they based on contractile proteins? Did he repair and remodel muscles? Did he damage them? No. What did he do? He went and lifted in the gym in an adapted state. He was drawing the glycogen in there. So he's a fake natty, get it? But how do you classify these people as fake natties and natties? How do you classify them? Eating an artificial diet, that's how. If you're on a carnivore diet, I guarantee you, your muscles are not going to blow up like that. Okay, they're not going to blow up like that whatsoever. And then it's a whole adaptation process to build real muscle. It's based on contractile proteins. It's based on a repair and a remodeling, and nuclei, and a whole bunch of things, man. So this is just all bullshit, garbage. So there you go.
Your own training, and 3 bad things that I think are either a waste of time or will give you suboptimal results.
You're going to say, well, he's lifting heavy. Yeah, and so what? Steroids make you lift heavy things. Okay, he's lifting heavy, but he's adapted. He's lifting heavy for what? Here's the question. For what? Why? Even if he was just lifting normally in the gym, I guarantee you high repetition, high volume, he'd get a lot bigger. He'd get way bigger with high volume than just lifting heavy weight. In his mind, he thinks a heavy weight is building a muscle. It's not building any muscles. It's not doing anything there. If you don't have any more nuclei to support further muscle growth, there's a fuck all going on there, bro. Get it? It's complicated. It's technical. That's why bodybuilding's so difficult. Building muscle is difficult. The difficulty of the bar is extremely high.
Now, I'm going to start with the bad stuff, but keep in mind that I will be going over the good stuff as well. And there's one thing in particular that I think Sam does better than any fitness influencer that I'm aware of. And I'll get to that later in the video. First,
what is that? Getting the pump?
After watching days worth of Sam Sulek videos, the first thing I noticed is that his technique could be better.
Is that he keeps talking about how he's getting the pump. How many people do you know eating a natural diet, your natural animal diet, eating animals, is going to give you a fucking pump, bro?
Sam is obviously a big proponent of what he calls ego lifting, which is when you simply try to move the weight, allowing yourself to swing and sway rather than being really strict with your form. And Sam definitely does more than his...
And what is that going to do if you're adapted, Jeff? If you're adapted to all these exercises and weights, how are you going to get a new adaptation, Jeff?
Fair share of cheat reps. Now, I would say that I'm actually less of a technique junkie than most science-based coaches. I think that you can still get solid gains with so-called...
You're a shitty coach because you don't know anything. You don't know anything. You're just making up stuff.
...bad form, as long as you're pushing yourself hard. But I still doubt those gains will be optimal. In fact, I recently published a study on optimal training.
Why would the gains be optimal? Why would anything be optimal? It's dead. It's dead in the water. He can't get any bigger. It's like Larry Wheels. Larry Wheels keeps saying, I can't get any bigger. He can't get through a certain threshold. But he can with sarcoplasmic. How do you think he gained 53 pounds eating at the Golden Griddle for 5 days? What do you think that weight is that Larry Wheels put on in 53 days? Or sorry, in 5 days eating at the Golden Griddle, he put on 53 pounds of what? Glycogen, dude.
Technique for muscle growth, and we discovered that there are 2 main things to focus on when it comes to lifting technique. The main thing...
Real muscle growth through adaptations is not what you think it is. It's very difficult to put on that real muscle.
...is that you need to use a range of motion that gets the muscle into a deep stretch. On this point, I'm giving Sam a B-. Sam doesn't always...
Okay, let's say you put it into a deep stretch, but it's in type 1. It's protecting itself from any more incursions or assaults from, being assaulted, trying to get damaged. And then what? There's nothing going on there. See what I mean?
use a full range of motion.
And all of these exercises are conventional. I haven't seen him do anything that was out of the norm, like, how should I put it, that he was unfamiliar with doing. He hasn't switched from unfamiliar exercises. He's always doing familiar exercises all the time when he comes to the gym. You're adapted. The body rapidly adapts to everything in your environment and gives you what? A zero. And that's what Sam is getting now. Sam hasn't changed since the first video he posted a long time ago on his channel all the way till now. He has not changed at all. He's exactly the same weight and the same look all the time. Pump check.
For sure, but that's okay as long as you're getting the muscle into a deep stretch. And while Sam often does get the muscle fully stretched,
Why is it important to get it into a deep stretch, Jeff? Why? What is the purpose behind getting it in this so-called deep stretch?
too many times when he doesn't to get an A grade. For example, on the incline press here, he's stopping at least 3 or 4 inches away from his chest, which isn't the end of the world, but it isn't ideal. I'd rather see him strip the weight back and touch the bar to his chest so he can really feel that deep stretch in his pecs. And here I'm...
Okay, and even if he did feel that deep stretch in his pecs, it's protected. There isn't any more adaptations. And what is the point, Jeff? Like, what exactly are you trying to say here?
Preacher curls, you can see that he's cutting out the bottom quarter of the...
And he's an unnatural lifter. He's an artificial lifter, okay? He takes artificial drugs.
Range of motion where his biceps would be the most stretched. And we now have 2 studies showing that on this...
Okay, and here comes the studies. Training in the initial range of motion promotes greater what? Muscle what? Adaptations. It can promote greater adaptations, but you're all fucking adapted to your exercises. Like this goofball, get it? You people are crazy. Man, I just love this stuff.
Exact exercise, the bottom half of the curl is the most anabolic part of the range of motion. So if you're cutting out the bottom part...
It's not anabolic, it's damaging. What the hell is he talking about? Food is anabolic, but this guy's insane. Nowhere in there did it say anabolic.
I would say that you're missing out on some potential gains. In fact, whenever I do preacher curls these days, I just stay in the bottom half the entire time.
Weights are not anabolic, dude. Food is. Man, this is just stupid stuff.
The other thing we found in our study is that it's important to control the negative rather than just letting the weight free fall. So when it comes to controlling the negative...
Yeah, it's the negatives that is the most important part. That's where the adaptations happen. All adaptations in lifting happen on the negative. Doesn't happen on the positive. You get better on the positive the more negatives you incur.
Sam gets a B+. He usually does control...
Look, the more negatives you can eke out, the more positives you'll have.
Negative pretty well, even when he uses some momentum to get the weight moving, but there are also just too many examples of him letting the weight free fall to get him an A grade. Ideally, as he gets closer to failure, he'd make a conscious effort to resist the weight on the negative.
I don't know why he's going to failure, man. He's adapted. He's all tapped out. He's not growing. Nothing's going on there.
Always being in control, especially on that final rep.
He looks the same all the time in every video. I haven't seen anything change.
Where muscle activation is the highest. Overall, I'll give Sam a B grade on training technique. The next thing I quickly noticed is that Sam will more or less just completely wing his workouts. He doesn't have a structured training plan. He hops in the car, roughly maps out a workout in his head on the way to the gym, and then he'll even often improvise the workout in the moment based on how he's feeling. The problem with basing your workouts around whatever you're feeling that day is that it's really hard to guarantee that you're actually progressing if you're just picking different exercises.
Well, because there's no more adaptations. That's why he's doing that. He's adapted to all these exercises. There's nothing going on, even if he is artificial. But then again, like I said, he's got to load more. He's got to eat more carbohydrate so he can load more of this glycogen in the muscle, and that's probably the issue.
Exercises at random, you'll quickly hit a plateau and start spinning your wheels in the gym. In fact, I would say that this is the #1 thing that causes people to fall into that dreaded lifetime.
I would recommend he eat a lot more potatoes. Starch is the best for creating these sarcoplasmic hypertrophy artificial muscles.
Intermediate category after getting past the newbie phase in order to keep making progress after your first year of lifting.
The newbie phase, that's the adaptation process. You've adapted. It's resistant from further assault the muscles at that point. And Since these guys are all ectomorphs, it's in type 1, so you're trying to get more type 2. It's really difficult. Yeah, it's a lot of work there to be done.
It's crucial that you use progressive overload. All progressive overload means is that you add something to your workouts over time.
Okay, say you add something to your workout over time, but let's say you're not doing enough repetition work, sets or repetitions. You need to do a lot more repetitions. That's what causes the damage to the muscle fiber. But most people don't do a lot. They ease off. They do less than what they're supposed to. Their workouts are frivolous. And so they don't get any new adaptations. They're always sitting there like in an adapted state, constantly looking around. Everybody else, maybe somebody else is progressing, and then they're like, how come they're progressing? I'm not. See, me, when I walk around in the gym, I'm progressing right now. And I'm doing high reps. I'm doing everything that I can to do things that I'm unfamiliar with so I can get a new adaptation. That is the whole point. Well, people are going to complain, but why aren't you showing off lifting a heavy weight so you can entertain us? Entertain us, little bastards here on YouTube. Well, because I'm busy trying to eke out adaptation so I can build up my body bigger and stronger. That is the whole point, isn't it? Going to the gym? Oh, no, but you have to get stronger. You have to lift a heavy weight. You got to do the bench press and OHP and all that. Well, yeah, I'll get around to it when I'm there. Yeah, sure, that's part of it.
Usually done by adding some weight or a rep to each exercise. But if you're just randomly switching exercises in and out, what'll happen is when it's time to hit that same exercise again, you end up just doing the same weight and the same reps that you did last time. This is truly a progress killer. Now,
yeah, he's doing the exact same exercises, the exact same reps, and the exact same weight. He hasn't changed the rep scheme or the sets or the exercises, so he's adapted, and he looks exactly like that from the first video to now. He's never changed.
Elephant in the room. Sam is clearly still making gains just fine, and an intuitive approach to training
No, he's not making any gains. He still weighs 250. Nothing has changed in his weight. He's hoping maybe something will change eventually. He keeps, you know how those people are? They just keep hacking at it, thinking that, well, maybe a different outcome will come out of this eventually. If I just keep hacking at it, something will happen. No, nothing's going to happen. The outcome is going to be exactly the same.
Clearly work for some people, especially if you have great genetics or supplemental enhancement. In fact, the supplement aspect of this is
Supplemental enhancement, great genetics. His arms look like shit. His biceps, they're terrible. I don't know. His arms are short. It looks weird. The shoulder area to the bicep looks really weird here. The biceps look terrible.
pretty big. With the right
They look flat.
anabolic enhancement, you can make gains even while training suboptimally. In fact, research shows that you can build muscle without even training at all.
Yeah, you could build muscle just eating bowls of potatoes, sarcoplasmic hypertrophy. And so what, Jeff? So what?
As long as you're taking the right substances. Enhancing is kind of like getting a second newbie phase, where really
This is such bullshit, man. Does he even know anything about bodybuilding?
anything you do will work. But even with enhancement, once you eventually reach that plateau again, you have two options. Get smarter and more structured with your training.
He hasn't really reached a plateau. He's just adapted to getting any real muscle. But here's the problem. I think at some point, he just is not eating enough complex carbohydrates to grow more of these phony muscles. Yeah.
Or increase the dose of anabolics. Obviously, the safest solution is to get a plan, put it on paper, or put it in your phone, and track the
He
weight.
eats a lot of donuts and drinks a lot of chocolate milk and all that, but those are simple carbs. He needs more complex carbs. Those are much better for building these fake muscles. They're the best. They're the best. They work the best.
And the number of reps you do. I personally do this for every exercise, but even just doing it for your heavy compound lifts would make a huge difference. So, for example, you can track your squats, presses, and heavy pulls, and then kind of wing it for the lighter isolation stuff like curls, lateral raises, and chest flies. Now, to Sam's credit, you do want to give yourself the freedom to switch exercises in and out if you're feeling pain, or if you're just really in the mood for something different. For example, Sam immediately switched his chest workout to a back workout after feeling his chest tighten up in this workout on January 8th. I think that's a smart move.
So you're already using ChatGPT.
I think that's a smart move, but for the most part, you do want to keep
I don't think that's smart. He's just moving from exercise to exercise. He's adapted.
most of your exercises and most of your workouts the same for at least a month or two, so you can make sure that you're adding some weight or some reps to those exercises. Also, to be fair, Sam could totally be tracking his workouts off camera, but I didn't hear any mention of that from any of the videos that I watched, and I definitely got the impression that most of the time, he's just completely winging it. Overall, I'm giving Sam a C+ on program structure. Third, Sam uses a body part split, or what many would call a bro split. This is where you train only one muscle per workout. So he'll do chest one day, then back the next day, then he'll do an arm day, and then a leg day. There's two main issues with this. First, as you can tell, it ends up being very disproportionate in terms of how much volume each muscle gets. So far this year, Sam has done 113 sets for his triceps and only 9 sets for his calves, and just 6 sets for his glutes. And his tricep volume is more than double his quad volume, despite the quads being 8 times bigger. Now, Sam has said that he's trying to focus on his triceps right now, but this is fairly normal for a bro split because you have at least 3 upper body days for every 1 leg day. Yet, from an anatomical standpoint, your legs have way more total musculature than your upper body, and it's not even close.
See, he's not that big. He's only 250 pounds. But what makes him look slightly big is because it's sarcoplasmic. That mass makes you look big. It adds to the mass, this glycogen loading. If he goes off his drugs, you'll notice that he'll get really flat. He'll go back to homeostasis. Whatever that real muscle growth he has, it'll go back there eventually if he goes off the steroids. So he'll be like, what happened? He really lost the glycogen.
So unless you already have great...
Remember, steroids are enhanced performing drugs. What do people do? What do they want to enhance? Their performance. What's performance? Endurance. Endurance is based on what? Performance. So what are steroids? Enhanced performing drugs. So what is this glycogen? Enhanced performing, ATP. It's an energy source. Hello. I guess people just don't understand that.
Leg genetics, your legs may start to lag behind on this split. There's also an issue with junk volume. In this workout from January 21st, Sam did 13 sets for his chest, plus 2 drop sets. But the best studies tell us that you tend to max out the amount of growth that you can get for a single muscle somewhere around 6 to 8 sets per workout. So after you've done 6 to 8 sets for a single muscle in one workout,
What does he mean by growth? Muscle damage or growth? Okay, if he's telling you growth, then it's sarcoplasmic. Man, I don't know. This guy's crazy.
more sets that you do after that probably aren't doing much. This is why some people call it junk volume. So rather than wasting all that energy doing 13 sets in one workout for one muscle, I'd suggest splitting that volume in half and putting 6 sets on one day and 7 sets on another day. Now, it's possible that because Sam is just so big, he can use more volume in a single workout than
He's not that big. He's big, but he ain't that big. This guy's crazy.
you or me. And I guess it's worth mentioning that probably 90+% of IFBB pros do follow the same split as Sam. So it could be that if you get to that unnaturally high level of muscular development, the rules change, or that with enough enhancement, the rules don't really matter anymore. That said, when I spoke with Dr. Mike Israetel about this, someone who I'd consider an expert on both the natural and enhanced side of bodybuilding, he said that enhanced guys would also be better off following a more science-based training split. That could be a push-pull-leg split, or an upper-lower split, or even a full-body split. I think that those are all better options for the vast majority of people, again, because they allow for a more even distribution of your volume across.
Yeah, you can try those to eke out a new adaptation. The whole process in bodybuilding is to figure out how to get a new adaptation. And how do you do that? By doing things that you're unaccustomed to doing and unfamiliar. The magic key in bodybuilding is unaccustomed exercise is known to cause what? Widespread muscle damage. So if you're accustomed to doing all these things, are you going to get damaged? No. So does science tell you what builds muscle, how to build it? Of course it does. They tell you the eccentric exercise is what causes muscle damage. So you need to focus on the eccentric. Okay, that's number one. What else do you need to focus on? Well, if unaccustomed exercise is known to cause widespread muscle damage, then stop doing things that you're accustomed to and start doing things you're unaccustomed to doing or unfamiliar with. And you'll get this muscle damage. It's really simple. You do things that you're unaccustomed to doing, something that you're so unaccustomed to doing that it'll give you this damage. And there's several ways of doing that to get that damage to come back. See what I mean? I do very specific things in my routine. The way I do it is totally different, but Like I said, everybody has their way, I guess. They try to figure it out on their own. Again, even if I'm conditioning, I go, let's say I move to conditioning, but I do things that I'm unfamiliar with. It's unconventional exercises I'm doing. I'm very unfamiliar doing them because I haven't done them in decades or something. Then I start doing them. I'm gonna get an adaptation, a new adaptation in muscle growth. Yeah, I'm gonna get something there for sure. I don't know, because I haven't done it for so long, or I didn't do them at all. Because sometimes some things I've never done before, I just start doing them. I've tried them, but I never went all out with them. And I notice now when I do something when I'm conditioning, I get an adaptation, but it's rapidly adapting. It's goes downhill, the damage. The first week, second, maybe the third week, but after the third, that's it. So yeah.
Your body, and they're less likely to lead to so-called junk volume. Overall, I'm going to give Sam a C+ on his training split. Okay, let's dig into the good stuff. First, to his credit, Sam trains very hard. This is extremely important if your goal is to maximize muscle growth beyond the beginner stage. And I do think that simply training
not particularly, no, that doesn't.
hard is more important than any of the previous stuff I talked about. You can optimize.
No. You should be unaccustomed to doing a lot of these things so you can get in some new adaptations. That's what you should be doing. Working hard at doing things that you're unaccustomed to doing.
Everything else on paper, if you don't push your sets hard, it doesn't really matter. That said, too much of a good thing can be bad. And in this case, I think it might be. Sam goes to failure a little too much for my taste. Like I said, Sam has done 460 sets so far.
I'll tell you why he's going to failure, because he's tapped out of these so-called adaptations. There's nothing going on there. And again, he got the adaptation in the beginning, the process. It was a newbie gain. The rest is all sarcoplasmic, and he's trying to get an adaptation, but it's not working. He should focus more on complex carbohydrates to blow up his muscles, more phony muscles.
This year, and 440 of them were all-out sets to failure. I do think most people would run into recovery issues with that much failure training. For me, only about 30% of my training is taken to failure. I usually do 3 sets per exercise, and I'll take the last set all the way to failure. On my first 2 sets, I leave 1 or 2 reps in the tank. Keep in mind, 1 or 2 reps in the tank.
And what is the point going to failure? And the best is when these people start lowering the weight. That's even more crazy.
Is still very hard training. I see people leaving 10 plus reps in the tank all the time at my gym, even serious dedicated body.
Again, this is all meaningless if you're adapted to all these exercises. You're going to get 0 adaptation at 0.
But yeah, I think a combination of failure and non-failure.
You're going to get a 0 listening to JeffNippard and following Sam Suleks' routine, a drug addict. These 2 drug addicts, routines and how they're explaining this is all bullshit.
Failure training is smarter than just going to failure all the time. That way, you still regularly get to remind yourself what failure feels like, but you're not doing it so much that it hurts your recovery. But even though he does take it a bit too far in my opinion, I'm still counting Sam's high effort as a good thing because he seems to genuinely enjoy failure training. He does seem to be recovering from it for the most part, and even though he has had a few injuries, it's hard to say if that's due to failure training per se.
Yeah, he's a lifting slave now. He's come back to the gym and he's lifting because there's no more adaptation. So he's become a gym lifting slave. That's all. He's just lifting the same weights repetitively over and over again, going back and eating his artificial diet, cereal, Cocoa Puffs, donuts, and whatever else, chocolate milk.
Or the super high loads that he's using, or something else. So even though I'd personally tone back on it, failure training is still far better than sandbagging your workouts and not putting any real effort in. So given his preference for failure training and what seems to be adequate recovery, I'm going to go ahead and give Sam an A grade on effort. The second good thing is that Sam uses smart rep ranges. When I analyzed the number of reps he did on every set, this was how it broke down. 11% of his sets were in the 0 to 3 rep range, 40% in the 4 to 7 rep range, another 40% in the 8 to 12 rep range, and 9% was above 13 reps. So clearly the majority of his training is coming from
Again, this is all technical and nice and great, but at the end of the day, there's 0 adaptations. He needs to get an adaptation. He's adapted.
Moderate rep zone from 4 to 12 reps, and for hypertrophy, I think this is great. All rep ranges can, in theory.
And you can be adapted to your meals. Your meals, you're adapted to them too, so they stop working too at some point.
lead to similar muscle growth. However, doing too much high reps can be very exhausting, and doing too much low reps may give you unnecessary joint strain. I think I do a little more high rep work than Sam does, just because there are studies showing that using a variety of rep ranges is better than only doing one rep range. But overall, this is pretty bang on for someone.
Yeah, like it said there, to get some adaptations. Yeah, adaptations. Why do they say that in science all the time? They say adaptations. They don't say adapted. They say adaptations, because that's the whole goal in lifting, to get adaptations. But you may be getting an adaptation in neural drive. You understand me? It's not in muscle growth anymore. There's no damage, no muscle growth. There's nothing going on there.
Whose main goal is muscle growth. I'm going to give Sam an A grade on his rep ranges.
Yes, his main goal is muscle growth. So he may be lifting heavy, but that's not his goal. He's focusing on trying to, I don't know, what the hell is he trying to do? Damage muscles? He's trying to, but he's adapted. This is stupid.
Lastly, and most importantly, Sam clearly loves training, probably more than any fitness influencer that I'm aware of. He's super consistent, he does exercises that he enjoys, and he has a good time in the gym. Obviously, hard workouts require discipline, and there'll always be days when you don't feel like going to the gym. But finding ways to make your workouts more enjoyable is always a good thing, and Sam clearly has that mastered. And he gets an A++ for sustainability and enjoyment. And even though I was kind of tough on Sam in this video because I wanted to give him a rigorous science-based critique, all things considered, I think Sam deserves a B grade for his training overall. Even though there are areas that could be more optimized, I personally rank sustainability and enjoyment and effort so highly that his high score...
Enjoyment, effort. Going to the gym is not about that. It's about getting a new adaptation.
There does boost his overall grade from me. And even though I didn't get a chance to talk about Sam's diet in this video, comment below if you'd like me to do that.
Don't get me wrong. I like Sam Sulek. I think he's cool. His channel is great. He's adapted, and regardless, everybody's adapted in the gym, man, these days anyways, whatever. And like I said, his gains are sarcoplasmic. He's eating an artificial diet right there, these noodles and stuff. This artificial food creates artificial muscles, and he's taking artificial injections, which is absorbing creating these artificial muscles, glycogen muscle. So there you go. Nothing really going on there.
In a future video. And in the meantime, you can download my nutrition app, Macro Factor, for 2 weeks for free at the first link in the description box below.
Oh, thanks, Jeff. You're amazing. I'm on it right away. Yeah, I really need your program,
Which is basically like having me as your own personal nutrition coach, but for a tiny fraction of the cost. I used Macro Factor myself for all of 2023 to cut 30 pounds of fat, and now I'm using the app to guide my bulk for 2024.
Well, I use Macro Factor, okay? That's even more crazy.
And you can see from my habits dashboard, I haven't missed a single day so far this year. I think the main thing that separates Macro Factor is to mathematically guarantee that you reach your goal as long as you follow the plan. There's also a...
Okay. I'm out of here, friends. Tell me what you think about that. Like, subscribe, support the channel. JeffNippard on Sam Sulek, his training. What do you think about that? He's adapted. Did you think in Jeff's video he explained how to get new adaptations? Did he explain it well? Yeah, I don't know. He critiqued the guy's, lifting, but Jeff didn't give any insight on how he should get new adaptations. Now, that's what a good coach does. A good coach critiques and then tells you this is what you should do to get a new adaptation. So Jeff he fails. He gets a failing grade, F, from me. All right, friends. I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.